Gisele Bündchen's story was never just about fashion. She was the ultimate supermodel of the 2000s, the unstoppable star of the runways, the face that graced countless magazine covers and a woman admired by millions across the world. But behind the glitter and flashing cameras stood a girl from a small Brazilian town who once dreamed of playing volleyball, not walking catwalks. How did that ordinary girl become the most talked about model on earth, later turning herself into a global pop culture icon? How did she rise from obscurity in southern Brazil to rewrite beauty standards across the world? And perhaps the most intriguing question of all, how did she manage to etch her name into history in such an irreversible way? If you want the answers, stay until the end of this video because what you're about to hear will surprise you. But first, let's rewind. Gisele's journey began in the southern Brazilian state of Rio Grande do Sul. She was born on July 20, 1980, in a small town that few outside Brazil had even heard of. She was one of 6 sisters, raised in a modest home shaped by discipline and strong family values. Her parents were of German descent. Her mother worked as a bank clerk, her father as a university professor. At home, German was spoken often, and education was considered the family's highest priority. The dream for their daughters was to become professionals, to succeed in medicine, law, or business. Modeling? That idea wasn't even on the horizon. As a child, Gisele was shy but full of energy. She loved sports, and above all, she loved volleyball. She trained hard and dreamed of one day becoming a professional player. Friends would later say that she was the most competitive on the court, always chasing the ball with unmatched determination. Modeling never crossed her mind. And yet, fate had a different plan. At the age of 14, during a simple trip to a shopping mall with her mother and sisters, her life changed forever. An elite model look scout noticed her towering height, her striking features, and her lively energy. At first, Gisele laughed it off. She was just a teenager obsessed with volleyball and schoolwork. But that encounter turned into one of the most defining moments of her life. Soon, Gisele was flown to São Paulo, the heart of Brazil's fashion industry. At only 14, her family hesitated. Was this really the right path? They worried about exploitation, about the risks of a glamorous but unstable career. But Gisele's confidence on the runway quickly eased their fears. She was different. When she walked, she wasn't pretending to be someone else. She radiated authenticity, and photographers couldn't look away. Her early years were not easy. In the early 1990s, the global fashion scene was dominated by the heroine-chic aesthetic models who were thin to the point of fragility, pale, distant, and emotionally vacant. Gisele, by contrast, had a healthy athletic build, sun-kissed skin, and an infectious smile. She didn't fit the mold, and at first, that was seen as a problem. Agencies told her she was too tall, too strong, too different. But those very qualities would soon become her greatest strengths. Step by step, she began booking jobs. Local advertisements turned into catalog shoots. Catalog shoots turned into runway appearances, and soon whispers about the Brazilian girl with the bright walk began circulating beyond São Paulo. She was still a teenager, yet she was carrying the spark that would soon ignite into a global flame. But think about it for a moment. What if she had never gone to that mall that
day?
What if her mother had decided to stay home instead? Would the world have ever witnessed the rise of a woman who would go on to redefine the very concept of a supermodel? That single chance encounter reminds us how extraordinary her story really is. Back in her small hometown, Gisele was just one of 6 sisters in a busy household. Her parents couldn't have imagined that their daughter would one day lead fashion shows in Paris and New York, or that her face would become a symbol for an entire generation. For them, she was still the girl who ran across the volleyball court barefoot, who came home sweaty but smiling, who dreamed of ordinary things. And yet, inside her there was a spark, one that the fashion world would soon recognize and never forget. Her journey was only beginning, but already the foundation was set. The girl from a quiet Brazilian town was about to become the model who defined a decade. From the moment Gisele was scouted in that mall, her life became a roller coaster. At just 14, she went from small jobs in Brazil to international runways in record time. The elite model look competition became her launching pad. She didn't win first place, but she didn't need to, because sometimes the one who catches the eye writes history. Soon Gisele was flying from São Paulo to New York, then Paris. At just 16, she was living alone in foreign countries, not speaking the language, navigating new cultures. It was daunting, but she pushed through. Her discipline and resilience impressed everyone who worked with her. Her big break came in 1997. At only 17, she walked in Alexander McQueen's legendary Rain show. The set was dramatic, pouring artificial rain onto the runway. Gisele wore a sheer blouse and walked with confidence that stunned the audience. Overnight, the Brazilian teenager was the talk of the industry. Critics called her the body. At the time, fashion was dominated by the heroin chic aesthetic, thin, fragile, pale models led by Kate Moss. Gisele was the antidote, athletic, glowing, bronzed, and full of energy. She ushered in a new era, soon labeled the Brazilian bombshell era. Magazine covers followed quickly. In 1998, she landed on the cover of Vogue, then Elle Harper's Bazaar and Rolling Stone, which crowned her the most beautiful girl in the world. By then, she wasn't just a model, she was a cultural phenomenon. The defining year came in 1999. That was the year she walked her first Victoria's Secret show.
So I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah. I'm excited.
Wearing giant angel wings, she captivated the audience. The moment launched her as an official angel. By 2000, she signed a record-breaking $25 million contract with the brand. Victoria's Secret turned Gisele into not just a fashion star, but a pop culture icon. Her runway walk became her signature, powerful, rhythmic, and confident.
Industry.
Insiders even nicknamed it the horse walk because of its strength and unique cadence. Of course, the media also buzzed about her personal life. By the late 90s, she was linked to actors seen at parties, photographed everywhere. But unlike many, she didn't let headlines overshadow her work. For every tabloid mention, there was a new campaign, a new cover, a new show. These years were Gisele's marathon of ascent. With every stride, another barrier fell. With every cover, another milestone was set. And yet, this was still just the beginning. Ahead of her were bigger runways, higher contracts, and the transformation into a global icon. Victoria's Secret runways, magazine covers, and advertising campaigns made her the most talked about woman in the world. What set her apart wasn't just beauty, but her energy and professionalism. When she stepped onto the runway, the atmosphere shifted. Her confident horse walk became the signature move of the decade. In 2000, she signed a $25 million contract with Victoria's Secret, the highest of its kind at the time. This deal didn't just make her an angel, it made her the symbol of the brand. From 2000 to 2006, she dominated every Victoria's Secret show. When she wore those wings, the audience held its breath and the press plastered her photos on every front page the next day. At the same time, luxury fashion houses were lining up for her. Chanel, Dolce & Gabbana, Dior, Versace, Balenciaga, everyone wanted Gisele. She appeared on Vogue so many times that critics started calling it the Gisele era. Her influence quickly expanded beyond fashion. She became the face of major advertising campaigns: Pantene, Ipanema, Apple, Louis Vuitton. She was no longer just a model. She had become a global brand. Forbes ranked her as the highest paid model, year after year, cementing her dominance in the industry. Meanwhile, her personal life kept the tabloids busy. In the early 2000s, she was linked to Hollywood stars. But the real media storm came in 2006 when she started dating NFL superstar Tom Brady. The press called it sports meets fashion. On one side, America's golden boy of football. On the other, the world's most famous model. Together, they were a paparazzi magnet. Her relationship with Brady elevated her from fashion star to pop culture royalty. She was no longer confined to catwalks. She was appearing on sports pages, gossip columns, and entertainment headlines worldwide. Every red carpet appearance turned into a spectacle. with the press dubbing them the perfect couple. By the mid-2000s, Gisele was at her peak. Millions tuned in to watch her at Victoria's Secret shows. Her Chanel No. 5 perfume campaign became legendary, a cinematic commercial that turned into a cultural phenomenon. Her gaze through the camera lens was no longer just modeling, it was branding, but Gisele never treated modeling as mere posing. She treated it like business. She launched her own Ipanema sandal line, which sold millions worldwide. It wasn't just fashion anymore. It was empire building. That was Gisele's genius, turning modeling into an industry and making herself its ultimate star. Through the 2000s, she wasn't just leading the fashion world, she was defining it. 2006 marked a turning point for Gisele Bündchen. That year, she decided to part ways with Victoria's Secret. After 6 years as the brand's ultimate angel, she wanted a different path. The endless runway shows, constant traveling, and relentless media spotlight had drained her. In an interview, she later said, "I wanted to take back control of my life." For Gisele, this wasn't the end, it was the start of a new chapter. Post Victoria's Secret, she didn't quit modeling entirely, but shifted her focus. She continued working with luxury houses like Chanel, Versace, and Dior, but also expanded into business. Her Ipanema sandal brand became a global success, selling millions worldwide. Forbes named her the highest-paid model, year after year, proving she remained at the top even without the wings. But the biggest change in her life came off the runway. In 2006, she met NFL superstar Tom Brady. Their relationship quickly became one of the most publicized romances in the world. On one side, the most successful quarterback in football. On the other, the world's most famous model. Paparazzi couldn't get enough. The couple married in 2009, sealing their status as the ultimate power couple. Motherhood transformed Gisele even further. She described being a mom as the most important role of her life. Despite being at the peak of her career, she chose to step back from some jobs to prioritize her children. In the fashion world, such a decision was radical. But for Gisele, the choice was simple: family first. Beyond family, she dedicated herself to environmental activism. She launched projects to protect the Amazon rainforest, partnered with Brazilian farmers on sustainable agriculture, and became a goodwill ambassador for the United Nations Environment Program. She used her wealth and influence not just for luxury, but to make a difference. This side of Gisele ensured she would be remembered not only for her beauty but for her conscience. She had become more than a supermodel, she was a role model. She showed that women could excel in business, family, and social responsibility simultaneously. Looking back today, Gisele Bündchen's story isn't just part of fashion history. It's part of the story of modern womanhood itself. She created and redefined the idea of the supermodel, but also transcended it, leaving behind a legacy far greater than the runway. For Gisele Bündchen, the 2010s were a mix of serenity and struggle. Her marriage to Tom Brady was long portrayed by the media as the perfect union. Their family photos, their red carpet appearances, their image as the golden couplet, all added to their legend. But behind the scenes, cracks began to show. Brady's relentless football schedule, constant relocations, and the never-ending media spotlight took their toll. In 2022, the couple announced their divorce. The news wasn't just a tabloid story, it was global headlines. Because they weren't just any couple. They were a cultural symbol. The split was proof that even the most seemingly flawless lives can break. For Gisele, it was a painful transition. She had spent years pouring herself into both her career and her family. After the divorce, the media followed her every step. Would she return to modeling? Could she rebuild her life? The questions were endless. But Gisele saw this not as a collapse, but as an opportunity for rebirth. She turned deeply to meditation, yoga, and holistic wellness. In her book Lessons, My Path to a Meaningful Life, she shared the highs and lows of both her career and personal journey. The book became a source of inspiration for thousands of women, proving that her influence extended far beyond the runway. At the same time, she doubled down on her environmental work. She raised funds for the Amazon rainforest, advocated for sustainable fashion, and used her platform to amplify eco-conscious initiatives. For her, beauty was no longer just about appearance. It was about harmony with nature and balance between body and soul. Today, Gisele remains a powerful figure in fashion. She still appears in Vogue shoots, collaborates with brands like Chanel and Dior, but the runway is no longer her domain. Instead, she's found purpose in documentaries, wellness events, and sustainability panels. Her story isn't just about the rise and fall of a supermodel. It's about a woman reclaiming her identity and shaping a new path. Gisele Bündchen wasn't just the model who defined the 2000s. She is, even now, a modern icon. She taught us that success isn't only about reaching the top, it's about rising again when life knocks you down.